All right, I have straight up 3:30, so I think we'll go ahead and get started because I've heard that there's a few people that need to get out early. So I'm not going to try to fly through the information, but I understand if you need to leave early, and we may get through some of this faster than I think. I don't know. So here we are moving into the trunk of our tree of life now, right? And we're going to talk about nourishing your core, the art of gastronomy. And let's just take a look at our progress. So we've completed our root system in our tree of life now, right? So finances, life work, what is your passion, your circles or your relationships, and your habitat or your home. Those are the kind of the base things that we need to feel kind of safe. And so now we're going to start working on the rest of us, right? So we're going to move up into the trunk and the branches and talk about our body. And so we're going to talk about nourishing your core. Now, I need to give a little disclaimer. I am not a dietitian. This is more how to put things in practice than actually what to eat, because how many people here really do know what to eat by now? You really do know that you're supposed to eat vegetables at least occasionally. And we're old enough to say, you know what, I don't wanna, right? Okay, so that's what we're gonna be talking about, is more how to operationalize all this stuff as we go. And I've got lots of show and tell for you. So before I go there though, let's just open us up with some prayer. Ooh. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say too is if you hear footsteps on the roof, that's to be expected. We have raccoons. No, I'm kidding. Apparently there's a bad leak on the roof, and when they got into it, they thought it was going to be like a 10 by 10 patch, and it was way worse than they thought it was. So if you hear tapping or feet, I'm told that it's not going to be too loud, so hopefully we can work through that. So if you feel drips, let me know. That means it's raining. So what I'd like to do is just open us up with a prayer. Gracious God, we gather today with grateful hearts, mindful of the many ways you nourish us, not just with food, but with fellowship, purpose, and peace. Thank you for the meals that fill our bodies, the hands that prepare them, and the moments we pause to savor them. Help us remember that nourishment is more than calories. It is actually care, connection, and compassion. As we reflect today, open our minds to new ways of caring for our bodies and our spirits. Help us release guilt, embrace grace, and find joy in small, sustainable choices. May this time together be filled with wisdom, warmth, and a renewed sense of what it means to truly be fed, body and soul. In your name we pray. Amen. All right. So, what does nourishment mean to you? Food? Yeah. And when you think of nourishment, do you think of just the food that we should eat that fuels you, or do you think of the fun foods that we enjoy as well? Do you think about does it feel different to sit alone and have a meal, or do you prefer to have a meal with a group of friends? Are you part of a table of 6 group and go to dinner with friends once a month, right? Those are nourishing too in all sorts of ways, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to look at that bigger picture of eating. Food is more than just fuel. I've often heard that the people that write diet books eat to live, they don't live to eat. And the people that need the diet books are the ones that live to eat. And that's why diets don't work, right? All right. So have you ever caught yourself telling yourself, I'm hungry? But you're not, you just had a meal. Or, what are you hungry for? Have you ever thought about that? because that's probably a cue that you are wanting emotional nourishment, not just physical nourishment. I know I went through a period of time, well, it was during the pandemic, so you couldn't go anywhere much. And sometimes I wanted to get out by myself because I'm a caregiver. And so I would go drive through McDonald's, of all awful places, and grab a burger and some fries. And I had like places around town that I knew I could park in the shade, roll the windows down, and just have some time to myself. So the time to myself was precious. And it wasn't until like one day I had that moment where I'm like, I've got to eat this now. And I took a bite of my hamburger and I'm like, that feels like such a warm hug. And I'm like, whoa, where did that come from? And I really spent some time with myself thinking about that. And what I realized was the first time I had ever had a McDonald's cheeseburger was when I was a little girl, and it was at my grandmother's, and I had, I don't know, a dumb accident, and I had like a splinter that was underneath my thumbnail. So she took me to the emergency room because she didn't know what else to do. So after that was all said and done, like it wasn't even as traumatic as it could have been, I guess. And there was a McDonald's, and so she took me to McDonald's to say, I'm sorry that you had this mishap on vacation. And what it occurred to me is the reason I gravitate towards McDonald's, even though they're not the best hamburgers, I mean, you know, they taste okay, but I've had better hamburgers, right? It's a hug from my grandmother, you know, and so I think we do a lot of eating emotionally. So let's take a moment to look at the difference between emotional hunger and physical hunger. So emotional hunger is hunger that will come on like suddenly, like all of a sudden it's like, I have to eat now. I need something to eat. And you're going to crave specific comfort foods. So for me, it's that double cheeseburger at McDonald's. You know, what are your comfort foods? You know, is it something that's easy to grab? Is it something that's easy to drive through for? What's your comfort food? It feels urgent or overwhelming. So with my story about the cheeseburger, that day it was urgent and overwhelming. Like I pulled it, like it was this McDonald's right up here on Bee Ridge and 41. And the parking lot that I parked in was right behind it. So you'd think I could get from McDonald's to the parking lot behind it, right? I was like stuffing that thing in my face as soon as I pulled away from the drive-thru. I'm like, what is going on here? And that's what it was, is I needed my hug. So the craving or the feeling of wanting to eat, think about where it's coming from. Is it located in your mouth or in your mind or in your belly? If it's your belly and your belly's grumbling, you probably are really hungry. But if it's your mouth, then maybe it's an emotional choice. You may not be satisfied after eating. You know, I've done that. You know, it's like when I'm not eating well, I stay hungry longer because I haven't really given my body any nutrition to feed my body. If you eat emotionally, does it trigger guilt or shame afterwards? I hear no. I love my chocolate chip cookies, thank you, and they love me. I love it. I love honesty. So sometimes emotional hunger is going to be linked to stress, boredom, loneliness, those kind of things. Often it'll continue even after you're full, and it often happens while you're really distracted. So who distracts themselves while they eat? In front of the TV, clicking through Facebook. You know, it's like, I might as well not have a dining room table because we sit in our recliner sofa watching the TV when we eat. Physical hunger is a type of hunger that's going to build more gradually, and you're going to be more open to a variety of foods rather than focused on those comfort foods. You know, actually, if you're truly hungry, you can wait a bit. You feel it in your stomach, not in your mind or your mouth. You're actually satisfied when you're physically full. Rarely involves guilt. links to the body's energy needs. That hunger stops when the needs are met, and you notice it more clearly when you're present. So if you're present with your meal, you're going to realize, oh gosh, this is good, this is nourishing me, and now I'm full and I'm done. So now that we know that we eat emotionally sometimes, and that's a choice too, and that's okay, I want to talk a little bit about calories versus nutrients. Because here's the thing, and I don't know how many of you really realize that, but all calories count. Believe it or not. But did you know, so if we look at the macros though, so macros are either carbs or protein, or 4 calories a piece. Fat is 9 calories per gram. And alcohol is 7 calories per gram. Okay? So are you giving your body nutrition or not? So bottom line is 1,000 calories of cookies is never going to be the same as 1,000 calories of salad, right? And here's the thing, I mean, I've known of diet programs where, everything has a point to it. 3 points for this, 5 points for that. Once you eat all your points, you're done for the day. So if you eat all your points for breakfast, you're done for the day. Now, is that really a good plan? So if I eat 1,000 calories of cookies, if my limit is 1,000 calories today and I do it in cookies instead of something healthful, what's my body gonna respond to that? Weird, feel sick. You're not giving your body the nutrients it needs to regenerate overnight, right? And so that's why I say 1,000 calories of cookies is never going to be the same as 1,000 calories of salad. Now here's the thing though, is if you go out to eat and you go to something like a Chili's or a Applebee's where they're a national chain, they have to tell you by law, they have to tell you the calories. Here's the thing. It's like, oh, I'm doing a good thing, I'm getting a salad. And then you look at how many calories that dang salad is, you'd be better off to get the burger and fries. Although, am I getting more benefit out of the salad? Maybe. What I've come to learn is it's the cheese and the croutons and the salad dressing, because they give you full fat salad dressing, because guess what? That tastes better. So we'll talk a little bit about macros. It's something that you hear a lot about, I think, out in the world. And macros are just the bigger molecules that feed our body. So we have carbohydrates or carbs. We have protein and we have fat. None of them are inherently bad or good. We need a little bit of all of that. We need some fat in our diet because there are certain essential fatty acids that our body cannot produce from the building blocks that we give it. So we need some fat in our diet. We need protein, of course, and we need carbs actually for energy. So we need all of it, right? And so kind of what you want to start to look for is if things are a little bit more balanced. Some things are going to be more carb than protein. That means you probably want to have some more protein with something else later on, and we'll talk more about that. So let's talk about how many people know how to read. Okay, there's a few of you. Good. So I just wanted to talk about this because it's an important concept. So how many people know what these percentages are? It's part of your whole diet. It's a percentage of a 2,000 calorie diet, right? So that's almost not real useful unless you're really into math, right? Not me. Here's the thing is, here's your total fat, 8 grams on this. Belvita, my husband loves these because they call them breakfast biscuits. And so he thinks they're for breakfast. And I said, but why do they sell them in the cookie aisle? No, they don't. I'm like, yeah, they do. So 8 grams of fat, 36 grams of carb, but they're cookies, right? So part of what you want to look at is, is there some fiber in there? How much sugar is in there, right? And then protein, 3 grams. What is the way that you could maybe add some protein to that? Huh? Peanut butter, yeah. Yep. So the other thing, let's see what the next slide is before. Yeah, so serving size. So let's do a little exercise. Who loves potato chips? Who sees this bag as a single serving size? Yeah, I know, me too. I'll be honest. This actually contains 2.5 servings. This is a single serving. Isn't that sad? So, part of eating more healthfully is just paying attention to our serving sizes, okay? So here's where I've got a lot of show and tell today. So one of the things I do, I like crunchiness on a salad. I like taco salads. I like my taco salad, actually. But if I get regular chips, I'm going to put way too many. But if I get these tortilla strips, I can put just a few in. So a serving of these is 35 calories for the amount that I actually want. So 35 calories versus how much for regular tortilla chips. So I keep these on hand. I keep bacon bits on hand. I didn't have them still in the package or I'd have brought them. I like bacon with a waffle in the morning sometimes. What I learned was, I didn't have any bacon with it because I'll eat like 3 or 4 slices of bacon, right? What I learned is I can sprinkle some bacon bits on top of my waffle while I cook it, and it crisps up. I get the flavor of bacon for 35 calories. So what are some ways that you can still have your flavors and not break the calorie bank, right? Something else that I do is I like this Catalina Crunch, and it's actually made to be less carb. It's like a snack mix, but it's made to be lower in carbs, and it's got some nuts and things. And a serving is a 1/2 cup. And so one of the things I'll do with this is also a little pricey, so I tend to not want to just sit and eat it out of the bag because I'll eat the whole bag and, I will either get little, if I'm feeling industrious, I'll get like a little Ziploc bag and portion it out and then put the portions back in there. Now what I do, so all I have to do is grab one portion. I also give myself permission to have 2 portions if I want, but now I have to look at that. You know what I mean? I have to think about it. So the other thing that I have done just recently actually is I went to the dollar store and got a couple of sets of cups. So what I might do is take the 1/2 cup and just stick it in the bag so I can scoop what I need, right? And so that way I'm at least being mindful of the portion size. The other thing I notice is because this is more balanced between carbs and protein, so this has 10 grams of carbs and 10 grams of protein per serving. So it's a little more balanced, and that's one of the things that we're going to talk about in a minute is, what are some good snack ideas? I find that oftentimes one serving will satisfy me instead of eating 2 or 3. And if I'm pulling it out of the bag, I might just keep going, right? Okay. Some other things, I actually got these off of Amazon. So they're beautiful little bowls, right? Everything from a 1/4 cup, 1/2 cup, 1 cup, 1.5 cups, and 2. So they're beautiful little bowls, but they're measurements as well. So if I'm going to have some cereal, I'll get the 2-cup one, and there's a line in there for 1 cup and 2 cups. So I can like fill it to what I need and then put the milk in and have this beautiful little bowl to eat out of. And I haven't had to make more dishes to do the measuring. So those are some ideas for you. So if you look it up on Amazon, it'll be a measuring bowl is what you're going to look for. So when we're talking about portions, start small. You can always go back for more. You know, I know someone who, she can have as many cookies as she wants, but she can only have 2 at a time, and the package has to live in the kitchen. So you get your 2, you go sit in front of the TV. If you want 2 more, fine, but you've got to get up and go back to the kitchen and get them. Do you really want them that bad? And so it's one way to kind of trick yourself into being smart about it, really. Use smaller plates and bowls. So here's something that I thought was really interesting. I've, for a long time, heard that a 9-inch plate is a really great size to help you portion. And so this one's an 8-inch and this one's a 9-inch. Like, I keep these in my house. One thing I learned is as our perception of appetite has gotten bigger, so supersize me at the grocery store or supersize me at McDonald's, or you go out to eat, like how many of you look at going out to eat as grocery shopping? Because you get one meal and how many meals more do you take home with you? You're right. So as portion sizes in restaurants grew, our dinner plates grew. Because our grandmothers had 9-inch plates. I mean, that was standard dinner size. Now they're like 12-inch plates and a 10-inch plate for lunch or whatever. So, you know, that's something to think about too. And so I really find that having a smaller plate helps me manage things a little bit better sometimes. And then another idea, and I don't use this as much as I want to think that I would. I don't use this as much as I wanted to think that I would. But the idea of, so this is just a little kid's plate. So this is a little smaller than 9 inches. But the idea is that if you've got it divided like this, half of it, so this big half should be vegetables and fruits or some combination of that. And then 1/4 is protein, whatever that is for you tonight, and 1/4 is starch, so rice, potatoes, whatever. And so if you're eating more vegetables, so again, it's a kind of a no-brainer way to think about doing that. And I actually found this at Goodwill. So it's a divided plate, but it's pretty, isn't it? So the inner rim is about 9 inches. The whole thing is probably 10 or 12, but that inner rim where the food would actually land is about 9 inches. And it reminded me of my grandmother's china. So that's a fun way to do it. So look for things that make it easy and fun, right? Yeah. So some other things to think about. Don't eat right from the package. We've talked about that a little bit. Pause halfway and really assess, are you still hungry? Because sometimes we can eat faster than our stomach can keep up with it. and that's when you eat too much and you're miserable at the end. And then we've talked about a few ways to balance your meal between protein, fiber, and fat, right? Now, the other thing that I'm going to just put out there is we all have things that go on with our bodies that require us to eat a little bit differently. My husband has a condition that really I can't give him a lot of fiber. I, on the other hand, kind of need some fiber, more fiber. So it's hard to find that balance of how to do that and make one meal for the family. So those are things that you want to kind of include in your thinking, is if you have anything specific to you, any need that's specific to you, think about how we can incorporate that into your day-to-day, right? The other thing I would recommend is mindful eating. So mindfulness is basically about presence, being present with your meal, not watching TV or flipping through Facebook or whatever, right? Be mindful that you're eating and what you're eating. You know, one of my current things is I'm working on not eating anything in the car, because I tend to grab something on the run, stuff it down while I'm driving. I don't pay attention, and then I forget that I've eaten anything, and it's like, oh, I'm hungry. You know, and if you've ever been up to the Caregiver's Pathway room, you know we've always got snacks, right? All right, so it's the difference between eating with intention versus eating on autopilot. You know, and you don't have to have 3 meals a day. It's okay to have 2 bigger meals. You know, it's like whatever works for you, you can do, right? As you're eating, savor the moment. You know, enjoy what you're eating. Decrease distractions. And the benefits of this are going to be that you have improved satisfaction because you've actually taken the time to taste your food. You have better digestion because you don't overload your stomach. And you have an emotional awareness of that you're eating and what you're eating and that it's nourishing your body. So in your handouts, I have one of the handouts is a practical portion guide and just gives you some ideas of how to right size your portions. And so what we're going to do next, remember we always do an activity snack. So today we're going to actually have a snack. What? So what we're going to do is everybody, now don't eat it yet because we've got a process. Here you go, Joe. Oh, good catch. I know, right?
Just divide what's left between the two.
Yeah. See me after class and we'll work that out. All right. So you've got the script for this in your handout pack. But what I want you to do is just kind of follow along with me, and we're going to pay attention to eating a chocolate. Oh, they want some too. So what we're going to do is we're going to pause and fully experience the food that we're eating. We're going to be mindful that eating isn't always just about eating or eating perfectly, right? It's about being fully present with your food. So first thing I want you to do is take your chocolate and just look at it. Look at how tightly it's wrapped or not. And just enjoy the look of, oh my gosh, I've got a chocolate. Okay, when you're done with that, then slowly unwrap it. And think about what you noticed. Do you smell anything? Did you tear your wrapper? Is there a message inside of your wrapper? Did anybody get a good message? It smells like chocolate. Well, that's good. If you told me it smelled like something else, we were going to have a meeting afterwards. All right, so just enjoy the smell of that chocolate. Enjoy the message that it gave you in the wrapper, right? I love promises because they're like fortune cookies for chocolate, right? Does it start to melt? Does it smell good? Does it feel smooth? Now, go ahead and place it on your tongue, but don't chew. Just let it melt a little bit. You can chew later. Just let it melt. Feel it in your mouth, right? I won't kick you out if you chew it. But just feel it in your mouth. What does it feel like? Enjoy it. If you need to chew it, chew it. Some people are chewers. Don't let it choke you. and think about how often do you pay this much attention to your food? How often do you pay this much attention to your chocolate? Right? Or do you just gobble it up? Right. Anybody want to share kind of their experience of what it felt like to?
I'm probably the only one who only took a quarter bite.
Probably.
Yeah, because I'm not a real big solid chocolate fan.
Okay.
Put some coconut in there, like a coconut mound, that'd be different.
Okay. All right. So, but that's an awareness, right? So you you had the experience, even though it's not your preferred type of chocolate. I've often said I never met a chocolate I didn't like. Some are better than others.
I don't get as excited about it. 4 o'clock was always, even from the time I had little kids, it was the time of day where I realized what I didn't get done during the day, and now I wasn't going to get it done because it was time to make dinner and stuff to get things organized, and my husband was coming home and all that kind of stuff. So I'd be really stressed around 4 o'clock. So I started having a 4 o'clock chocolate.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
and I would do exactly this.
Okay.
And I have grandchildren now, and when they're riding around with their parents and it's 4 o'clock, they say they need to come to Grandma's house. And they have a 4 o'clock chocolate.
I know, right? I love that.
Wisdom, bright children.
Huh?
They are bright children.
Of course.
Yeah. So now you have my permission to have a 4 o'clock chocolate, because that's really what time it is. I'm glad I had that timing correct for you. So here's the reality check: is it's hard to eat well when you're busy, right? Or is it? What are some of your barriers to actually eating well when you've got a busy day? Plan ahead. Well, that's my barriers. I'm bad about that. I know sometimes I'll be getting ready in the morning, and if I hear my husband starting to wake up, I'm like, oh, I gotta go. So I don't get stuck having to do more stuff than I had planned, right? Sometimes I think I'm gonna go home at lunch, and then something happens that I can't, and so then all of a sudden I'm like, I'm hungry.
I have a bad habit of eating when I watch TV.
Okay.
And it's like, I feel like I should have a snack when I'm eating, and it's hard to.
So you're the one that we need to put the box of cookies in the kitchen, and you have to go get them 2 at a time. Right.
Just a suggestion too is pistachio nuts. You have to open each one.
Oh, well, yeah.
That makes you much more aware of how many.
That's a good idea. Well, and I have a cockatoo, so the ones that I can't get open get given to the bird. You're right. So, what if we found a way to make it a little bit easier? You know, and this is sort of easier, one meal at a time. You could do this for all of your meals. I recommend like dinner. And so if you pick a theme for each night, so an example here is Monday is Italian night, so you have all those choices. Pasta with a veggie-packed marinara sauce and a meat sauce. An English muffin pizza or a flatbread pizza. A caprese salad. Try low-carb noodles. Some people like those, some people don't. You know, I'm sure you've seen the zucchini noodles, the zoodles. Yeah, so it's zucchini that's shredded like noodles. They're actually pretty good. I like them. I don't want them all the time, but I like them. So here's a sample of like a Monday night meal. What about Tuesday? Taco Tuesday. Taco Tuesday. You could use ground turkey instead of ground beef or shredded chicken if you wanted to. You could do a taco salad instead of tortillas. I'm never going to make a taco, the shell bowl. No, not going to do that. Rice and beans, they're good for you. Try lettuce wraps instead of, the tortillas, right? Wednesday. Maybe we choose comfort food. So I know a lot of you from Wednesday Night Live. And I don't know about you, but I'm lost right now because I don't have Wednesday night supper to go to. So maybe, but those tend to be kind of comfort food nights. Maybe Wednesday night is your comfort food night, right? Thursday, light dinner at a casual restaurant, for an example. Like, choose your out to eats. Like, Thursday is an out to eat night in my world. Maybe that's not a great night for you. Pick your out to eat night, right? I usually pick my out to eat nights and put them in my calendar first and then work the rest of my week around that. The other thing I like about doing theme nights for planning my meals for the week is that I plan my groceries from the list, right? And so I find that I don't buy as much extra stuff if I have an actual list. The other thing that I like to do for grocery shopping is I'm a Walmart Plus member and I have it all delivered. So I'm never in the store to see the BOGO bagels. You know what I'm saying? I miss all that. And so I don't have some of those extra things in the house all the time. Friday could be Fix It Fast Friday, right? What's in the freezer? Breakfast for dinner, soup and sandwich. Here's some Trader Joe ideas. So those are some ideas. I know one of the things that I do is I do leftovers on Garbage Eve. So you know what Garbage Eve is the night before the garbage goes out. And I don't like to put the food in the garbage all week. So we have leftovers on Garbage Eve, and whatever's not eaten goes in the trash, and we start fresh next week. Now, Friday is not my Garbage Eve night. Monday is, but something new Saturday. Maybe Saturday is a good day to cook because you're home all day, or I don't know what. So that could be try a new recipe or browse your pantry or freezer for things. Sunday could be slow and simple. So pop something in the crock pot so you don't have to fuss with it. But maybe have a Sunday dinner, if that's something that works for you. So here's the thing is you don't have to mimic, what I suggest as a theme for each night. And you can interchange them. You can do Taco Monday. I don't care. The tacos don't care as long as you eat them. Right? But, your plan's not always going to work. Some people like to use the meal services where Blue Apron or, one of those where they send you, 3 recipes or however many you order with all the ingredients. And I kind of have a love-hate relationship with that. I love to think that it's going to work, but then when it comes, I'm kind of like, it's like, I don't want that, or it's going to be too hard to make. And none of them are that hard to make, but it's just getting yourself in the kitchen to do it, right? But if you have a plan, you're less likely to pick up extra stuff at the grocery store. You can change the order of your theme nights if that works better. Plan your out to eats, right? And that'll help you be smart about incorporating your favorites into the plan so that, because if you start saying, tacos are bad, they're not. But sometimes you have to be a little smarter about them, right? So in your handout packet, I've given you a sample of the, so you can do this for your own. All right. Here's another idea. Since we're in the beginning of hurricane season, maybe we do the clean out the freezer challenge. Because guess what goes first when the power goes out? And I've got way too much stuff in my freezer because I'll get something and either there'll be some left over and I forget I've got it or whatever. And actually one week I did that. So I just went in my freezer and took a picture of all of it, uploaded it to ChatGPT. I'm like, make me, 5 meal plans with this stuff. It was really amazing. It was good. So it was a lot of fun. But it'll help you clean out your freezer for hurricane season. This is a book, I think I may have mentioned this before, but it's called The Storm Gourmet. You can still get it it's on your resource list. You can still get it on Amazon, and it's kind of fun. It's like a meal plan with non-perishable foods that's delicious. It's not cold soup and tuna fish, right? So this is a fun way to kind of clean out your pantry or get prepped for hurricane season. All right, so let's talk about our favorite friend, snacking. We've talked about that a little bit already. Think about snacking smart, so it's fuel, not a filler. Now, like I love your one chocolate at 4 o'clock, that's great. It meets a need, it shifts your thinking, and gets you prepared for what comes next, right? So think about snacking when you're truly hungry, not just bored or tired or emotional. Choose combos of protein and fiber, or protein and a healthy fat, protein and carbs. Try to put some protein in there, and that'll help mitigate the excess of the carbs, yeah. And then just watch your portions, which we've talked about. We don't want this snack to be another meal. We just want it to be a snack, right? So some snack ideas might be things like a cheese stick and some grapes, or a handful of nuts and some dry fruit. And there's a couple of different brands. I just got a bunch from Aldi, actually, where it'll be like some nuts and dried fruit and some little pieces of cheese. And they're a great little grab-and-go snack. Greek yogurt and some cinnamon, right? Or some nuts, or maybe a little granola. A protein bar or a protein shake, hard-boiled egg and whole grain crackers. Now, I'm never doing that one because I prefer my eggs in cookies or cake. And not just hard-boiled, but, truth be told. Now, of course, we can't have a nutrition discussion without talking about hydration, right? So I've said for a long time that I really think see everybody grabbing for their water right now. It's really not so much about the hydration as it is the exercise that you get running to the bathroom. Can anybody understand that one? So here's the thing. Hydration supports every system in our body, so without enough fluids, things start to slow down, to strain, to break down, right? So brain function, even with mild dehydration, can cause brain fog, headaches, irritability, or trouble concentrating. Digestion, water helps to break down food and keeps things moving, and fiber is a good example of that. Joint health, fluids cushion your joints and help to reduce inflammation. And I know at one point I was doing a hydration challenge, actually. So I committed to doing 64 ounces at least every day. So my thing was, once I had my 2 cups of coffee in the morning, then it had to be only water till I got that 64 ounces, and then I could have whatever I wanted. And it was really amazing how in a short period of time, I started realizing how my joints were actually feeling a whole lot better. So yeah, it does help with our joint health. It affects our blood pressure and our heart health. Water helps your heart pump more efficiently. If you don't have enough fluid in there, your blood gets a little sludgy and it's hard to push around your body, right? Kidney support, it keeps your kidneys filtering and reduces the risk of kidney stones or infection. Helps you with temperature regulation. So we live in Florida, we know it's really crazy hot. And so it helps our body with temperature regulation. So your body needs water to sweat to stay cool. Even when you're not visibly sweating, you still need the water. Now here's the thing though, is, depends on who you ask. Some people will say take your body weight. divide that in half, and that's the number of ounces of water you should have. So if you weigh 100 and you divide that in half, then that 50 ounces is how much water you should have per day. Other people will say you've got to drink 3 liters or a gallon, or that's way too much for a lot of people, you know. The truth about it is that all of that stuff is really arbitrary, and the science doesn't really support a specific number. And for most of us, if we're doing really well, thirst is a good indicator of how you're doing in terms of dehydration. But we all know we live in Florida, it's hot this time of year, we should be drinking more water, right? So that's just something to bear in mind, is really, you know, what feels right to you is probably right. Now that said, older adults can have a diminished sense of thirst, and so by the time you are thirsty, you may already be dehydrated. I think most of us that are pretty active, as long as you're drinking water at a rate that feels comfortable, you're going to be okay. The other thing is just to consider things like medications, diuretics. So if you take a water pill for some reason, that can, you know, decrease your fluids in your body. Other chronic health conditions can increase fluid needs. I know one of the things they say is that, you know, coffee is a diuretic. Coffee will, you know, deplete your body of fluid. Well, guess what? The study that said that was done on 5 men back in the 1930s. And they, you know, it's like, if you drink enough fluid, you're gonna have to go to the bathroom. And the assumption was that because coffee had caffeine in it, it was the caffeine that was causing them to need to go to the bathroom and to lose fluids. So there's a lot of stuff like that out there. One of the things you can do is sip through the day instead of just chugging down large amounts. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll drink a full glass of water when I take, you know, medicines or vitamins in the, you know, first thing in the morning. I'll drink the whole glass of water. So that adds some in right away. Use your favorite cup or straw or tumbler that makes you, you know, want to use it. You know, I've always got my water with me. This one is one that I've decorated with, you know, stickers from various trips that I've been on. Keep your water visible and convenient, you know, at the bedside, in the desk, in your purse. So people that are using those, the Stanley cups and all of that, they're making purses now that are set up to hold your Stanley cup. And it's like, okay. I don't like them because they're too big and heavy. Like, they're heavy before you put any water in them. But the other thing too, you can add some flavor to your water. Herbal teas count. Honestly, anything that's liquid can count. And I've got, yeah, so you've got 2 sheets in your handout packet. One talks about hydration matters, and the other one, so it talks about a little bit of this. The other one is hydrating beverages and foods. And so water is, of course, the gold standard, but coffee or tea can count. Milk is 87% water, believe it or not. You know, I had someone who was a caregiver for a patient, and she was super concerned because all this woman wanted to drink was milk. She wouldn't drink water. And I'm like, and I actually had to look it up just to be sure, but I'm like, okay, but 87% of that milk is water, so why are you complaining? Like, why are you worried? Oh, broths and soup count, fruit juice counts, sparkling water, electrolyte drinks, flavored water of any description. The only thing that's not really hydrating is going to be alcohol. But then there's some water-rich foods too, so cucumber, romaine lettuce, celery, zucchini, you can read the whole list there. So it counts if you're eating fruits and vegetables that also have water in them. Nope. No, that's the whole caffeine conundrum.
Yeah.
And there's some sugar and the minerals in the, that make the bubbles. People have concerns about that, but I think a soda every now and then is fine. I think if that's all you drink, it could become a problem. But, huh?
That's what my son's doing, he's drinking soda.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it'll come back to bite him soon enough. And he'll have to figure that out on his own. Yeah, I know. So some of the signs of dehydration: dry mouth or lips, dark yellow urine, and I actually put on here, unless you take a vitamin B, because I recently started taking vitamin B, and I'm like, oh. But the vitamin B is a water-based vitamin, and so it will come out in your urine, and vitamin B will be really bright yellow. If you're feeling tired or foggy, maybe you need a good glass of water. If you're having dizziness or lightheadedness, muscle cramps, constipation, or irritability and confusion, those are all signs that it could be that you've got dehydration. So let's talk a little bit about breaking bread together. How has your relationship with eating in company changed over the years? What do you miss, or what would you like to reclaim? Some of us, I don't get to go out to eat as much as I used to like to. That's a change. Some of us are used to having a spouse around, and they're not here anymore. So you're finding yourself eating alone more. Or do you not eat a good meal because you are doing it all by yourself? Or do you find yourself in a situation where you're eating with other people and you're not used to doing that? So I know one of the things that I've talked to some friends that have moved to some place like Sunnyside, where you get a meal as part of your package once a day, most days, and you can choose lunch or dinner, but all of a sudden you're going to eat with a group of people that you're not used to eating with a whole group of people. How are you feeling about that? Is it good? Is it not so good? What are changes that you've noticed in how you break bread together? Are you used to Wednesday night supper and we're not having it anymore? I miss that. What of that do you want to reclaim, and how can you reclaim it? Is just something to think about. What is the conversation at the table like? Do you ever talk about what makes a meal nourishing? And it's not just the food, it's the stories, the laughter, the prayers. Do you pray before you eat? When have you felt the most cared for over a meal? Just some points to ponder. Reflect on your own breaking bread memories. So that would be holidays, maybe a hospital bedside meal where you shared a meal with someone that was in the hospital, and so you stayed with them for the meal instead of leaving it to them. A casserole, or casseroles in grief. I grew up in the South, so if somebody passed away, everybody showed up with a dish. I didn't really understand that until my own father passed away, and everybody showed up with a dish. And it was so wonderful to have plenty of food that we didn't have to think about how to eat. We could just pull stuff, everybody could go to the fridge and pull what they wanted, or, it was so nice. So when you eat alone, even if no one is physically present, the meal can still feel sacred. I know I have times where I sometimes just want to go out to eat all by myself. I don't really want to talk to people, but you've got the wait staff, so it's people adjacent. So you don't feel like you're alone. But I also like having somebody wait on me for a little bit, even if it's just an hour, and they bring me just what I want. And they keep refilling my glass, so I never have to get up and go to the kitchen. I don't have to do the dishes, right? And then, maybe You could think of lighting a candle, turning off your distractions. Say a prayer of gratitude. Breaking bread with God is still breaking bread with someone. Just like a little different way to think about it. So undoing harmful food beliefs, right? Eat all your food so you can get dessert, right? Clean your plate so you can have dessert, right? So, or you must eat at noon whether you're hungry or not. You know, and with my husband, he sometimes sleeps really late, so breakfast is at noon. If your emotional food will fix it, right? Or maybe you think the other way, I don't deserve to eat. I haven't been good enough to eat a snack or whatever it is. Like, we tell ourselves really mean things sometimes. So as you're having your food, and start to notice what you say to yourself about that food, right? And would you say that to your best friend? Like, if you're mean about your food, would you say that to your best friend? Maybe you need to change how you talk to yourself. So reframing. So eating can be joyful. It can be intuitive. It can be connected and healing, right? Part of reclaiming nourishment is giving ourselves permission to eat with people that we love without guilt or without performance. You know, don't feel like you've got to eat a good meal just because you're out with friends and you think somebody's watching. Sometimes it's okay to have, you know, hamburger and french fries, right? Meals is ministry. So a shared meal basically just says to who you're sharing your meal with that you matter. You're not alone. For caregivers, widows, or those in seasons of loneliness or transition, sharing a meal can be a spiritual act of care. You don't have to talk about the other person that's missing, but maybe just invite a friend to, you know, let's eat together tonight. You know, sort of just being there. Inviting someone to your table or accepting their invitation is a form of ministry, and it doesn't have to be fancy. A bowl of soup can count. It doesn't have to be, you know, a production like Thanksgiving, right? So here's just a little closing reflection. As we leave today, it's my hope that you'll carry with you more than just the tips and checklist. I hope you'll leave feeling nourished, not just with ideas, but with encouragement. Nourished and embodied by foods that fuel you. So we've had chocolate. Nourished in the spirit by grace that fires you or frees you. Nourished in community by the tables that you share and the moments that you savor. May you snack not just to fill a gap, but to refuel with care. May you break bread in a way that blesses your body and your soul. And may each meal, no matter how simple, remind you that you're deeply and wonderfully made. So bon appetit. So yeah, you got homework, sorry. I had to say all that nice stuff so you wouldn't be mad at me for homework. So I encourage you to take your meal planning sheet and write a plan for the week. Create a healthy snack plan. Take the Eat From My Freezer challenge, right? Pick just one small step and commit to it. So write it on an index card. I forgot to bring the index card, so you'll have to put it on a sticky note or something and keep it someplace where you see it. And that's it. Any other questions or comments or? All right. So next month we'll be back to our,
Could you back up to our assignments? Yes, thank you.
There you go. So next month we're back to the second Wednesday. So it'll be July 9th. And we're going to talk about activity and how you can blend activity into your day in all sorts of sneaky ways. And we did get done early.
So do you not like the third week?
The only reason we went to the third week this time was because of Bible school last week. Is the third week better? Well, I can consider it for next year. Yeah.
Since we're early, if people would like to maybe share something that's worked for them.
That's great. Yeah, absolutely. So what's worked for you, Marty?
The pistachio nuts, I just grab like a handful or 2 handfuls, and then I just close the bag up and
Okay,
go through them and separate them and throw my shells.
great idea.
So that helps me portion it a little better.
Well, it feels like more than what it really is because you've got all those shells.
One of the things that I just accidentally stumbled on the other day, I had lettuce with something when I was out to eat, and they gave me a slice of orange with it. And I didn't have dressing, so I squeezed the orange on it.
Oh.
And I thought, wow,
Yeah.
that's really good.
Yeah, I've known some people, I've done it myself. Squeeze a lemon or orange would be good.
Before, but not, I've never.
I guess the orange would, yeah, that would be,
It was really, really good. I was impressed.
that's a good idea.
Yeah. And it
So if they have Blue Moon at the bar, they're going to have oranges. So you could ask for an orange. Just a thought. You know, I at one point, it depends on where you are because some places aren't real happy to substitute things. But if you can look at the menu as a list of ingredients. And so if they've got an ingredient here, but this is the thing you want, you could maybe substitute that in as something to think about. Anybody else? What works?
I make like a pot of soup or a pot of chili, and then I freeze portions.
Mm-hmm.
So then when I need something, just grab it.
Yeah.
I make muffins. I have my oatmeal raisin, banana, pecan, applesauce raisin muffins, and then put those in the freezer.
Okay.
And I can have soup and a muffin.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I know. I just went shopping at Sam's last weekend, and they had several, family-sized dishes. So I got like 3, and what I did was right away I cut it into portions and put them in the freezer. So now I've kind of like done my meal plan for the month because I can have, Taco Tuesday is enchiladas this month, and yeah, and it's been really easy. So that's something too. Yeah.
When I eat out, before I start eating, I divide the meal
Oh, okay.
so that I know I'm gonna take this portion home.
Okay.
So it's not like.
Now, do you ask
over.
for the to-go box early too, so that you?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I simply divide
Some
it,
people do that.
and then I ask to go by.
Yeah. Yeah, Karen.
I find that the more I exercise, the better my diet becomes.
Okay. Well, because you're using up your fuel, and your body's going to ask for fuel instead of junk. Yeah. And I think too, exercising helps you dissipate the energy of emotions better so that you're not so likely to emotionally eat. Yeah, because I've noticed that for myself as well. Yeah.
One of the things that I've found helps over time is that I've noticed that I really love ice cream, I love cookies, and if they're right there on the counter or in the freezer all the time,
Right.
I will tend to have cookies and ice cream every day,
Right.
and that's just not good.
No.
So we limit, we don't buy it so it's there.
Right.
If we do buy it, it'll be for a special occasion, but we try to avoid even having it in the house. Because if we do,
It's a great
it'll
idea.
be gone within 2 days.
Yeah. Avoiding having all those wonderful snacks in easy reach so that you can't. You have to make an effort to go out and have a bowl of ice cream. You know, so at least you get the exercise of walking out to the car and walking into the ice cream shop, right?
Just a little tip about ice cream. Everyone loves ice cream. We go to Detweiler's because it's 1/3 the price.
Oh,
Any other ice cream store, one scoop will be like close to $4.50, $5. Two scoops, $7, $8. If you go to Detweiler's, one scoop is $1.99.
oh,
So
okay.
it's just phenomenal.
All right.
It's a little tip for those of you who like ice cream.
Paid for by Detweilers now. They told you you'd get a free scoop if you told us about it, right, Marty?
This wasn't for me, but I have a friend, and her father, when he was heading towards 100, she told him if he still wanted to have his cookies and ice cream every day, that he had to ride his recumbent exercise bike 100 miles.
Oh my gosh.
And he did every day.
Oh my gosh, that's why he lived to 100.
Yeah, probably.
That's commitment.
That's commitment. Yeah, I've threatened my husband with setting it up so the exercise bike runs the TV.
I thought of that, and you know that you have to ride like 10 hours for one program.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of put a damper on my.
I think exercise is important. I think diet is important. But if you look at how much exercise you have to do to make up for a bad diet, it's not a good deal at all. I think fitness is one part of it, and what you eat is another part of it, but it really almost doesn't necessarily go together, but we have been trained to think that it does. And we'll talk about that next time. All right.
I find it's easier to avoid temptation if you stay out of certain aisles.
Yeah.
At the grocery store.
Yeah, definitely.
The other
Well, see, that's why I just order it online. That way I know what I'm getting and I don't get distracted.
The other thing that they say is don't go shopping when you're hungry.
Yes. Or you'll be the proud owner of aisle 4. Yep. All right, friends. We'll see you next month.